Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today we are going to talk about forest fires. So, what are forest fires? Are they good or bad? Because sometimes we have heard that people are deliberately cause fire, a small scale fire in the forest. So, why they do that? Is it good? We'll discuss that in detail. You can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook for your queries because I feel together we can make a difference. Now see what is the relevance of this topic from your examination point of view. In your mains paper 3, it will be covered under conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. At objective level, you should know basics of forest fire. Subjective level, you should know forest fires and their global impact. So in what context today we are studying this? See, forest fires have already been a very big problems in many countries like Australia and America, and even in India, states like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Northeast, they have large forest cover and they are prone to forest fires every year. And especially during summers, forest fires become quite rampant because forests become littered with dry leaves and twigs which could burst into flames ignited by slightest spark even. And in a rainforest like Amazon, massive forest fires are a disaster. They totally destroy the habitat of tens of thousands of plants and animals. So that is why in this context today we are studying this. Now talking about the nutrients. See, with a forest fire there is a loss of nutrients also. If a forest burns down, all nutrients are lost because they are stored in the plants themselves and not in the soil. Despite there is lush green vegetation and the unique biodiversity, the soils are particularly barren and poor in nutrients. And thanks to this year-round warm and the unique biodiversity and humid climate, that fungi, bacteria immediately they decompose the fallen leaves or branches, and nutrients released are reabsorbed by the roots, not the soil. So these twigs, these leaves which fall down, they are decomposed into humus and then the plants again reabsorb it. Now this thin humus layer is quickly washed out after a forest fire, and within 3 years of the fire nothing will grow in the exhausted soil. And this humus which gets washed away, it's very important for the growth of plants because it provides a lot of nutrients to the plants. Now talking about such an ecosystem which is fire sensitive ecosystem, scientists describe tropical forests like those in the Amazon, in Congo basin, in Southeast Asia, that these are fire sensitive ecosystems, and about 1/3 of all ecosystems worldwide are considered fire sensitive. In the past, severe fires tended to occur less often there due to natural humidity and vegetation structure. If there is prolonged drought, in some cases we have seen, especially after El Nino climate phenomena or in case of purposefully started fires, disastrous surface fires develop totally quickly, and the plants and animals, they actually lack a natural ability to resist and recover from fires. They don't have much resilience to recover from such disastrous fires. But these fires, they have cleansing properties also. So what are these cleansing properties when we talk about them? That as devastating as forest fires are in the rainforest, the destructive power of such fires is significant for the preservation of other ecosystems, where parts of the natural fauna and flora develop only due to the fires. I will give you examples of such species in coming slides also, because what happened, these regular fires give the ecosystems their distinctive structure, and this is very true for about 3/4 of all habitats worldwide. These includes your Siberian taiga, right, then your African savannas, right, the South Asian monsoon and dry forest, then this Californian coniferous forest, then your Australian eucalyptus forest, Eucalyptus is also very much prone to your forest fires, and even your Mediterranean region. So these are the places where the ecosystems have distinctive structure because of regular fires. Now, how these small fires are useful? This is very rare but intense. That fires are characteristics of bush landscapes. Right here I have written it is bush landscapes or forest. They actually consume old and diseased trees from the forest, and they create new habitats. When old trees are gone, diseased trees are gone, they create new habitat and ensure an ecological rejuvenation of the tree population. But if the human beings intervene in these ecosystems, for instance by preventing small fires in order to protect population, it can have fatal consequences. Over the time, more and more combustible material accumulates, and even these harmless fires can quickly turn into highly destructive walls of flames. Until they are small, they can be useful. For example, this happens time and again in Australia or in dense pine forest. Even in India, in Uttarakhand, we have seen such things. Pine forest, what happens? They are very combustible. So when this combustible material accumulate, they turn into highly destructive walls of flames. This happens time and again in Australia or in dense pine forest in the southwest of US, which were once grasslands. Now when fire they occur too frequently, humans have to intervene, even in ecosystems that depend upon the fires. For example, I told you these places: Siberian taiga, African savannas. Especially talking about Siberian taiga, these fires have been breaking out more and more frequently due to rise in population and expanded development. Because when we need to develop, we need to make roads. For roads, we need to cut forests. And due to this population and expansion of development, we are destroying large areas of forest and releasing enormous amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So as I told you, I will give you examples that fire is responsible for new life also. It is useful also. How? See, many plants in southern US, in Mediterranean region or in Australia actually need fire to survive. This thing I told you. Now this Douglas fir, this is basically a conifer species of plant. It survives most fires because of its thick bark. After fire, it sprouts new shoots. So it depends upon fire for its new shoots. Now the North American lodgepole pine also, here I have written lodgepole pine, it also needs heat of the fire to open its cones and release seeds. So after its cones are open, it releases its seeds. While the Australian grass tree, it needs smoke, fire smoke to open its seed pod. Here about this I am talking about Australian grass tree. Okay. Now after a fire without the usual dense tree tops, more sunlight reaches the forest floor and the seedlings find enough nutrients because they do not have to compete with other plant species, because in dense forest there are tall trees. So because of these trees, bushes of these trees, sunlight cannot reach to the ground, and there are many plant species which thrive on the ground. So after a forest fire, when these are destroyed, some of the bushes are destroyed, sunlight can come to the ground and these plants can also thrive. Now even some insect species need the fire to survive. These include larvae of your Australian fire beetle. So this is Australian fire beetle. Its larva needs fire. So this larva of Australian fire beetle, it can only develop in freshly burnt wood. So thanks to its heat sensitive sensors, that the fire beetle can detect fires up to 50 kilometers, that is 30 miles away. Then your storks and birds of prey, they feast on beetles and insects made sluggish by smoke after a forest fire. So storks and birds, they depend upon these small beetles and insects which become kind of lazy, unconscious after the smoke of this forest fire. So this food chain is very important to be maintained in ecosystem. In one way, we might see why we are happy birds are eating insects, but no, this is how food chain works. This is how your ecosystem works. So when they are made sluggish, there is enough food for the storks and birds also. So that is how it is important. But again, I would say still fire is catastrophic because climate change is bound to increase the risk of forest fires even further. If you see, forest fire causes 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions, more than 30% of global carbon dioxide emissions, 10% of methane emissions, 85% of global soot emissions. So they contribute greatly to global warming, that is one, which in turn leads to forests becoming increasingly dry and weak. And this destructive cycle often makes it easy for new fires to develop. So as we are talking about usefulness of forests, see, there at a time there was something called local wisdom in combating forest fire. So this local wisdom is basically body of knowledge which has evolved with the life of experiences of people. So this is a thing before capitalism, before the growth of nationalism, before globalization, when communities, they used to come together, take care of their natural and cultural heritage. These communities used to work in group of people. They had similar hopes and goals. They had sense of unity, and they used to maintain stable identity in the face of rapid societal change. However, with the growth of globalization, these communities are now heavily influenced by so-called modern ideas of the Western countries, which gave them a sense of backwardness about themselves, and the result, abandonment of their valuable heritage local wisdom. So whenever we say we want to conserve these forests, we always talk about rural communities. So the rural communities in India, which originally led a holistic life, which put much emphasis on community building by working as a team, respecting elders and working with nature, have however been undergoing significant changes steadily. Like this example has been seen in Uttarakhand. These communities are replacing their local wisdom with Western ideas, technology, individualism. So this thought to be proved to be quite costly in Uttarakhand. So in Uttarakhand, there are a lot of pine trees. So the issue of removal of pine needles, because pine needles are dry and they can elevate the fires. So these pine needles from forest could not be addressed due to an indirect issue of mass migration. So the villagers' unwillingness to stay in village could not be ensured, due to which there is lack of manpower to carry out essential procedures which could have prevented the fire. So the villagers are not willing to stay back due to economic concerns. So here we can talk about local wisdom, as community role is also very important in preventing the forest fires. So obviously, what are the strategies to prevent forest fires, that even if small fires are needed, they should remain small and not elevate? Then technology, obviously, and another most important is community engagement. So way ahead we can talk that fighting fires with minimal equipment and challenging terrain is thankless task that poses grave risk. So definitely here where technology can play a role, and instead viewing forest fires as being purely destructive in nature, forest managers should perhaps expand their worldview and be more inclusive to information and ecological local knowledge system. So I already talked about local wisdom, community role. So this is how you can talk about way ahead, and even in the comment box you can tell me more things at how we can develop and increase the community role in preventing the forest fires and conserving our forest. Thank you. So this is a channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for UPSC or any government exam, our pen drive and tablet courses are available. If you're preparing for UPSC CAC 2020, our pen drive course is available, where you can find 100% coverage of UPSC vast syllabus. Daily current affair updates will be available. Self-paced learning process is provided. This course has been prepared by top faculties of StudyIQ, and now you can purchase this course at Rs 625 per month only. For additional information, you can visit our site, and there are the phone numbers also given. You can call them and gain the additional information. You can connect with me for my video updates on Instagram and Facebook, because I feel together we can make a huge difference. For queries, you can even email me. Thank you so much.